I'm Star Dahl-Thurston, and this is Cart Convos, where we're going behind the scenes of the Honolulu Zoo. Today, we get to meet the elephants, and I'm so excited. So let's go. I have been looking forward to this all week, and I'm very excited to meet the zoo director, Linda. We're about to go see her. Hi, Linda.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, we're excited.
Oh, I'm looking so much forward to seeing the elephants.
Yeah, we're going to get to see elephants and we're going to see what they eat today.
Awesome. How long have you been at the zoo?
So this is 39 years. I'll be going on my 40th year soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you get started here?
I actually started in the commissary doing animal diets.
Wow, no kidding.
Yes. And I loved it so much. Then I became an animal keeper and then just kept growing my skills, and now I'm the zoo director.
That's incredible. So tell me where we're gonna go first.
So we're gonna go over and meet Sebastian, and he's our horticulturist, and he's gonna show us what the elephants eat.
Awesome.
Hey, Sebastian.
How's it going?
Hey, how's it? Hi.
I'm the horticulturist here.
Horticulture, okay.
So I take care of the plants, but it also deals with how we feed out to the animals as well.
Okay,
Yeah. So if you guys are ready, we could hop on in.
let's do it.
Awesome.
Thanks,
I'll see
Linda.
you guys later.
Thank you.
All right. Whoa, this is pretty legit.
We need heavy duty stuff for heavy duty animals. Okay, so we're gonna start here. We're gonna go back into this area where we're growing some of the browse that we feed out to the elephants.
Okay.
This one is Megathirst maximus.
Megathirst maximus.
Yeah, that's the scientific
Okay.
name. The common names, they vary. It's been called like guinea grass.
Uh-huh.
I think some other people call it elephant grass.
Okay.
But this is one of the ones that we feed out to the elephants.
Awesome.
So there's a reason why we have these, gloves, that you and I are wearing. The biggest thing, like I was saying before, these animals have adaptations to digest it, right? But then they also have adaptations to deal with the defenses that the plant has. Because the plant doesn't really want to
be eaten.
Right. Grasses have evolved to keep resprouting.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But a lot of grasses still don't want to be plucked all the time. So for a lot of them, they have these little silica, like these little hairs that are very, very irritating. And it's one of their main defenses to keep herbivores from eating it, right? Or even brushing up against it. A lot of herbivores, one of the things they have, they'll have thicker skin. Hence the old name pachyderm. Right? Pachyderm is actually Greek or Latin. I think it might be Greek for thick skin. Right? So they don't feel that. We, with all our skincare products, we have very nice supple skin, right? That means a lot of these grasses will feel it. So that's what these precautions are. So we'll cut some of this over here. This is all the Megathirst maximus.
Love it.
Right
Okay.
here. So we'll cut it, we'll make a pile, and then we'll bring it over to the elephants.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So you were saying that most of the food that you give the animals is actually grown on property.
We try and grow as much as we can, and we'd like to try and grow more.
Wow.
Right. Because while there is a supply chain for a lot of things, or for browse, there is not. Right?
Got it.
You can buy hay from a farming company,
Got
right?
it.
But you can't really buy, branches to feed out to giraffes.
Right.
So that's something where we need to make sure that we grow enough on property, because they're eating, what is that, like hundreds of pounds a day, like all our large animals. So we need to make sure we have a lot.
Some days I'm eating 100 pounds a day.
Yeah, there's no, sorry, it's off the menu, you can't buy it today.
Right.
No, it's like, no, we need to have it.
To feed them, right. So in the wild, this is something elephants would just come to and start munching down.
Correct.
All right.
There's videos of elephants in India with grass so tall you really can't see them.
Wow.
And they're just sitting there with their trunks pulling away. And you see how much work it takes to do this, and the elephants are just...
Wow, just so easily snatching it up.
It shows you the difference in the strength between us versus a large animal like that.
So walk me through like a normal day at work for you.
For me, okay, so for me, a lot of it is just going through the grounds and assessing what the landscape is doing.
Okay.
Right, on a very basic things like, oh, are there dead branches in this tree that need to be cut? Is this area of the walkway, does it need to be trimmed? Does this area, like let's say a plant has died, what can we replace it with? What are we looking to do in this area? And then also it's like, why is there, it's like flowing water here? Why is there a leak? You know,
Gotcha.
those sort of assessments, and then we'll sort of divvy out the work from there.
Gotcha.
You know, but some of these things is like, oh yeah, that's a problem. Even though it takes 1 second to see it, it might take a couple of days to solve
actually
it,
address it.
right? So then now it's a matter of, okay, now you have your tasks. How do you prioritize which one takes precedence, which one not? Like, oh, this one is above the public walkway. We need to take care of that soon. Right?
Got it.
Yeah. So those are the sort of things that we do, and then actually solving those problems.
Got it.
And then whatever else comes up during the day. We also have longer term stuff, like, oh, for example, we're walking by right now. This is the chip exhibit.
Okay.
We're gonna try and update it. So part of the updating, aside from the infrastructure, like how do we make it so modern zoological practices and standards, but also, okay, what are we gonna landscape it with? With trees, or plants?
Yeah.
You know, how are these animals gonna possibly interact with this environment?
Got it.
So those are the longer term projects aside from the day-to-day sort of maintenance and repair. Yeah.
Oh, neat.
But yeah, so my day varies, and then because you know, it's plants throughout the zoo. You know, one day I could be in giraffe, one day I could be by the chip exhibit, another day I could be by the tortoises. You know, depending on the work, repairs, the tasks that need to be done. That's where I'm at.
How'd you know you wanted to be a horticulturist?
Well, actually, I didn't. It was weird. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a zookeeper.
Oh, okay.
And then I realized that you know, it's gonna be difficult to make money doing that.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh well, and this was the '90s, so I was thinking, well, how can I provide for myself? How can I feed a family?
Yeah.
So my original degree, I got it in computer programming, right? And then my thought was, as I get more involved with that, I could transition into this work. But the further along I was moving in that field, the further away I felt like I was going from this. So at some point, it was a risk. I said, let me actually quit and do this type of work. So did my studies, did a lot of field work, and one thing basically led to another, and I got back at the zoo. Doing this work now. So it's odd. As a little kid, I wanted to be a zookeeper. Yeah. And now, what is it, 40 years later, I'm here at the zoo, but working with the plants.
Wow.
So it's a very fun challenge. But roundabout way, that's how I got here.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so I'll be driving by and say, okay, why, like let's say for example, why does this have no leaves? What's going on here? What's the difference here? Right? It's sort of reading the trees, reading the landscape.
So are you in charge of also like the watering system?
Yes.
And so it's all underground, is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah. You can see some of the sprinkler heads popping up.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Is that difficult being that we're so close to the water, having an underground system?
Oh, I mean the pipes themselves they're built and engineered for that. It can make it a challenge if there's leaks, right? If there's already water around,
Right.
how do you find where the water's coming from if there's all this other noise that's in the way?
Right. Huh. Wow.
But yeah, there we are at the elephant exhibit.
Okay. And there are a lot of protective measures here.
Correct.
How likely is it that an elephant would get out of its enclosure?
There's always that risk, but that's why we mitigate it with A, the actual infrastructure, and B, the practices and the training and experience that we have, right? Because, you know, we take it very seriously, our responsibility to showcase these animals to the public in a safe manner, right? And that's very key. So for some people, maybe that's why they might think it's overbuilt. But you know, when we're dealing with protecting the public from a large animal, you know, these are the standards that we have to hit, right? And we want to even exceed those standards where we can. So yeah.
As somebody that wanted to be a zookeeper kind of all his life, can you tell me to you why having zoos in our communities are so important?
Oh, where do you start? Okay, so for me, the basic thing, right, is we already share the planet. How do we share it better, right? We already have plants and animals that are coexisting with us. It's just in a lot of cases, they're coexisting in a very poor manner, right? People are encroaching more and more on their lands. Animal populations are going down and going extinct, right? For me, it's like a zoo in some ways can highlight, here are the animals, how do we share this planet? And then B, on a very sort of basal level, is how do you get people to care, right? You can talk all you want. You can say, oh, this is important that we save this. This is important that, you know, you do this. These animals have needs, you know, we want to protect them. You could say all that, or you could show them an elephant, right? And have these little kids, you know, connect to them. Like if you see some of these keeper talks and you look at the crowd and you see all these kids, right? And you see the excitement, but to me, it's like they're making a connection, they're caring, right? It's very difficult, you know, especially for, you know, let's say some kids here, so not everybody can go on safari. You know, not everybody can fly out to Africa or fly to India and see these animals, you know, in their habitat, right? But if we have them here to showcase them in a professional manner, you know, to be able to make that connection and to see kids say, you know what, this is something important, right? Because I'm sure there are certain cases where it's like if you ask a keeper, if you ask somebody what made you interested in being a keeper, it was interacting with animals.
Wow,
And,
so
to me, that's important. That's a big part of what zoos have the ability to do. There's still challenges, right? And ideally, you know, in a weird way, ideally you wouldn't need zoos because all the animals in the world are safe. They have habitat, you know, they have room to breed and grow and have populations. But right now we're not in that, you know, ideal world. We can do what we can to move toward that, and I think zoos play a big part in that. But yeah, so that's what's important to me.
so cool.
Yeah.
This might not be a good question for the YouTube, right? But I'm curious what you think, just between you and me.
Sure.
There's a lot of controversy and still people are very upset about animals in captivity.
Yeah.
And as someone who loves zoos, you take care of it and you've dedicated your entire life to ensuring that these animals are comfortable, well-fed, safe. What is kind of your response to that controversy?
Yeah, because the hard thing is we don't have telepathy. We don't know if the animal is actually happy or not. Like, because they can't tell us.
Right.
I am satisfied with my life, right, in this setting.
Yeah.
There are certain things we could do, right? Like you could actually measure their stress hormones and things like that, so you could tell that. But, you know, at the end of the day, you just don't know. So for me, it's the risk and challenge and sort of morals and ethics of the ability to, like what I just said, to showcase and highlight and educate the public. Also knowing that you're taking these animals out of their habitat and making that risk assessment and sort of, I guess, ethical standard, right? In some ways, unfortunately, in some ways, it's easy to make that call where it's like these animals, like here in Hawaii, we have animals that are going extinct right now. If you leave them in the wild, they're going to be extinct in the next 2 to 3 years. That call is sort of easier versus something like, let's say, on the very opposite end, like a whale. We do not have the capabilities of housing a whale, right? Just physically alone, let alone the sort of ethical, moral, you know, sort of calls that you have to make. So that gradient between, is this feasible? Is this doable? Is this the right call?
Yeah.
You know, somebody has to make it. I think for a lot of animals, because so many animals, the first sort of Earth Day, right, where it was like, we need to do something about the environment. That was in 1970.
Wow.
Right, I believe it was 1970, but it was like, here's a call. We as, you know, a first world country or whatever, we have the resources and ability to save the animals, so let's do something about it. That happened in 1970. Since 1970, you know, what? I don't know if these numbers are correct, but more and more habitat has still been lost. So even though you have these people who are interested, it's still, you know, these populations of animals are still going away. And, you know, we have, in the last 20 years, we've possibly lost the rhinos in West Africa. We've possibly lost the rhinos in Vietnam, right? Even though people are like aware, it hasn't led to the proper actions. So for me, that's why it's like, well, even though ideally, in an ideal perfect world, you don't need to go to a zoo because the animals are living in your backyard already, we still need them.
So what are those actions that we can do as people beyond just going to the zoo? How can people help support these animals that are going extinct?
Okay, so I guess twofold on that one for me. One, right, we live in Hawaii, which is the extinction capital, endangered species capital of the world. We can actually do meaningful, relevant things right now to help these animals. A lot of that is habitat restoration, right? So there are nonprofits, there's companies, there's organizations, there's, you know, even state volunteer opportunities where you can go and actually enhance habitat, you know, for, let's say, the native tree snails or some of these native fruit flies, and eventually, you know, native birds, right? Those are concrete things you can do right now. Bigger things, right? If you want to save like the elephants or, you know, rhinos or things that are from elsewhere, there are other organizations that you can sort of donate money to. It's harder because they still need the same things here. It's just there's more logistics involved. But because Hawaii has so many challenges right now, you can actually make a difference right now, like a meaningful difference if you take the time and effort, right? So aside from this work, I do forest restoration work.
Okay.
I've been doing that for the past 15 years. And seeing the transformation of this degraded, non-native invasive forest back into native, and we're seeing more of these native insects, native birds becoming more visible. That's, to me, it's like, it's not just talk. It's not like, oh, we could actually help the forest.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, did you? In this case, it's like, yeah, look at the difference. I don't know if you can see it. I actually have before and after photos.
Yeah?
On my phone. Yeah, let me pull it up. Just to show you what you can do.
Wow. And what organizations are you working with to do that?
So this is through the zoo, and then we have the organization, it's the Manoa Cliff Native Forest Restoration Project. Yeah, let me pull it up right now.
Wow, so there are resources through the zoo that people can get involved in.
There are some, right? Because the zoo, one of the things that we should do is not only are we, you know, highlighting and exhibiting these animals to the public, we're also showing what kind of conservation we're actually doing, you know, to help the populations in the wild.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up. Here. Okay, so for example, bamboo. I don't know if you could tell, there's like the ohia tree is right here.
Yeah.
You can see some of the branches, and then that's the ohia tree there.
I mean, it looks like a completely different landscape.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're trying to show that you can actually change the landscape, right? And then this was the one with the cinnamon.
Right.
This is the stump, and then this is all the growth. And this is from 2014.
Wow.
So less than...
So 2 years ago, yeah.
Well, 11 years ago now.
Wow.
And then
So
this
in
one,
our lifetime, we can really see a
correct.
benefit.
Yeah, this is one. These ohia trees are completely surrounded by ginger, right? And then this is what it looks like now.
Wow.
This is with all the pu'u.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So for us, you know, it's not just talk. It's like you can actually make a difference. The biggest thing is a level of commitment and dedication, right? Because forests don't grow overnight, right? It doesn't need to be a 40-hour week where you're just slaving away, but you need to be able to commit over a long term.
So if somebody volunteered like once a month or once a quarter, do you think that would be make a really meaningful difference?
We're lucky in our forest that it's a wet forest, that I can confidently say if you come regularly, whether that's once a quarter or once a month, 4 years. 4 years you can get to something like that. It could be really bad, weedy, non-native forest. If you do the effort for a good amount of time, you can get native forests. But you still need that commitment, right? Unfortunately, there's no I think you've seen like those YouTube videos where they're rebuilding an old car or, you know, cleaning something.
Yeah.
At the end of the YouTube video, there's a finished product.
Right.
Right. In the forest,
It's not so
there's
much
no,
that way.
you know, there is an ideal, but we're not getting there within, you know,
Yeah.
the realm of like 20 years or something like that.
Now let me ask you this. What would you think about some kind of tax incentive for people that committed like a year's worth of dedication to reforestation?
So anything to get people out, you know, on a long-term sort of commitment.
Right. Because we
you know.
wish that just that what you're doing for the
Right,
Aina
'cause-
alone is enough.
Right.
But that's not always the case.
Right. So, and that depends because we want people who are doing the right thing for the forest.
Right.
Right. So tax incentives are good. They're a good way to get people there, but you gotta make sure you have the right mentality.
Right.
You know, because, and I don't know if this is good for the YouTube video,
Yeah.
but you know, with a lot of incentive-driven stuff, then people sort of game the system, and then you don't get the outcomes you want because
Yeah.
they're just gaming the system.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, I can do carbon credits or whatever, but I can just do this, and I haven't actually fixed the problem, but I'm within the
Yeah.
legal framework.
Right.
Right. So for me, it's useful, and I'm never going to say, oh, don't do it.
Right.
But as long as people have the right mentality going into
It
it,
needs to be
you
controlled.
know,
maybe.
it's not like nobody goes into the forest saying, I'm making a lot of money doing this.
Right.
Right. Again, we were saying it's like you're doing it for the Aina.
Yeah.
But if there's added benefit, like a
Mm-hmm.
tax incentive, why not? Or if there's added things that you could do to make it more appealing to people, why not?
To try, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And because the problem is so big, you know, tackling it from a whole bunch of different angles
Mm-hmm.
is important, right? But you know, to me, the main thing is okay. You know, people actually destroyed this forest, right? But at the time, a lot of this destruction was for, you know, commercial value was one.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I could harvest this sandalwood, sell it to markets in China, right? That's one. It was a very big
Yeah.
incentive. But the other incentive was, you know, before we had fossil fuel and cooking oils and whatever, you know, your day-to-day life, like if you wanted to cook food, you had to have firewood, right? So people were harvesting firewood. So there were
So it stayed here.
yeah, there were different things, but I mean, people did it because they had other reasons to. We don't have other reasons. Like our sort of tangible benefits to the forest are kind of slim to nothing unless you're actually actively doing something for the forest, right? Like there's no, oh, I'm hiking through the forest, and by the way, that makes the forest better.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, it's very hard for your day-to-day life because back then that was their day-to-day life. It's like you had chores to go collect firewood. You had chores to, you know, do this. That was actively damaging the forest. There's no chores right now that also benefit the forest. So we actually have to physically make the effort.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, like right now there's no sort of side benefit to modern life that's actually helping the environment. Versus at the time, those side things that we were doing was also taken away from the forest. Nothing's adding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, like you're saying, taxing them is something. You know, so it's like their day-to-day life. It's also helping the forest. So it depends on how you want to look at it. How do you want to tackle the problem? Like, just like these elephants, they're like, how do I eat this grass? Or, you know, I could have a bigger stomach, or I could have a,
Yeah.
you know, 4-chambered stomach, or I could eat my poop twice or whatever. You have different solutions. Same thing with this. It's like, do we just ask for the people who care? Is the burden just going to be on them? Do we try and incentivize through taxes or whatever?
Right.
So we could spread that burden out. There's different ways to do it. So we just dropped off the food. I'm going to introduce you to Malia.
Okay.
She is our long-term elephant keeper. She is a font of knowledge and cares so much about our animals. And she could take over from there and show you just how the elephants utilize this food that we brought them.
Okay, I'm so
So this is
excited.
Malia right here.
Hi, Malia. Nice to
Hi,
meet
nice
you.
to
I'm
meet
Star.
you.
How many pounds of food do they have to be fed a
You
day?
know, for such big animals, they don't eat that much. So between the two of them, they eat about roughly 300 pounds.
Wow.
So they go through in a day's time about 2 bales of hay, and each bale can weigh anywhere from 75 to 120 pounds.
Wow.
And then they have some pelleted grains, fruits and vegetables, and then of course the grass or whatever we cut.
What are some of like their personalities? What are they like?
Oh, so like I mentioned earlier, like Mari is like the Cadillac, so she's very easygoing, very mellow, also a little bit stubborn,
Yeah.
and good sense of humor. Like this morning, actually, when we were giving her a bath, you know, she was just eyeballing Andy here, and I don't know what I was asking her to do her different behaviors, like stand sideways, you know, or whatever, but her eye was just rolled back looking at Andy. I'm like, why are you looking at Andy?
Yeah.
But she was just watching Andy, so it was really funny. And I knew she was in a playful mood, so that's why we decided to bring out the bucket of water and do that one behavior, which is something we haven't done for so long, so they really enjoyed that. And Vigai is actually like the hot rod, where she's very, very busy, always needs to do things. Her mind is always going. She's really smart.
Yeah, she's death glaring.
Very, very smart. She's trying to animal communicate with me. I know.
Yeah.
She's pretty much taken down like the back of that tree. See how that tree's kind of funny looking back there? She ate that whole half of the tree. She's learned to move objects and stand on them and reach, where Mari doesn't take that, she won't take that risk, but Vigai does. And we used to have a tree up here. Vigai tore that down and ate it.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, so they, you know, they definitely have their own personalities, and it's very different from each other. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned kind of getting to know their behaviors and what if they're in a playful mood, serious mood. How much of that is just knowledge about how elephants present, and how much of it is actually getting to know them over the last
I think
years?
it's just, I just know them really well. You know, they, like you said, they're kind of like dogs to me in a way, or my family or kids, and they really are. I don't want to say they're my pets, but we are so, I feel so bonded to them. I can't say they're bonded to me, but I do believe that when I'm gone for a while, they definitely show me, like, they'll come over like, where have you been? And actually I was gone recently. I got bitten by a cat that I was trying to catch so I could get him TNR'd, and I was out because my finger was really, really fat and I couldn't use my hand. I was gone for about 2 weeks, and they definitely noticed. So, yeah, they'll get more clingy and stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Oh,
I know.
Is she gonna roll that?
She's thinking. I think she's just trying to get our attention, but she's rolling her log. You want to roll your log all the way over there? She's like, why are you standing out there when my grass is right there?
Would you say they're pretty playful?
They are. They go. You know, they have their moods. They usually they can somehow they get our attention, and we kind of guess what they want. And like they might want a mud wallow, you know, and they'll hover around there. And sometimes, I think like yesterday, they were hovering around the mud wallow, and then when we came over, like, do you want us to fill it up with water? No, we don't want you to.
Yeah.
So they walked away, you know, they're like, no, we don't want you. And then sometimes they're really into it, and they'll lay down, and when Vigai was littler, she used to like climb all over Mari when she would go in the water, and but now that she's bigger, she doesn't do that much. Big pile for Mari, little pile for Vigai. Oh, that's too much for Mari. Yeah, Vigai's gonna be mad. Okay, that's good. And this is really pokey grass, so watch out.
Oh, yeah. I don't think she's got her gloves on.
Okay.
Yeah, she always has her gloves on. I do
They're
not.
being fed.
Vigai, back. Back. Whew. Why? There we go. Let's start with that. Oh, you like really threw it in there. The trick is not to get it on the hot wire. But yeah, you learn to throw, you know, like
Yeah.
throw like spears, and that's what it's like. Or like for the primates, you learn to throw their biscuits and stuff so you don't get it in the water, you know. You got to learn how to throw. Why are you stealing? Oh, that was my whole pile. Oh my goodness.
They're about even now.
Go ahead, go ahead. Viga is on a diet. Mari needs to gain weight. So.
If you try it, it's
It hurts.
gonna shock you.
It curls your hair. That's what I always say. I touch it all the time. I used to have a very long antenna, and I'd crawl underneath because I'm too lazy to turn it off. And the antenna would touch it, and I'd get zapped. But it's a pulsing hot wire, so it lets you go. And I did laugh like up on top. My coworker back then had to climb up there and cut some grass down, and he had very long hair, long flowing, beautiful hair, and it got caught in the hot wire, and I got to watch him get zapped constantly. And I couldn't help but laugh until he got his hair off. Okay.
So cool.
Viga, what you doing?
You mentioned that Viga has to gain weight.
No, Viga has to lose weight.
How often are you weighing them?
We actually weigh the girls every week. We have a ginormous scale, and they will walk through this area in the back as they're coming out, and then they have to stop for a minute, and then we take the weight. There's a big scale in there. I never walk on that because I don't want to know my weight.
Yeah.
Or at least nobody's looking, and then I might check it out. But we do it every week, and both girls are usually roughly around 10,000 pounds. But as Mari's getting older, she's more difficult to keep her weight up. Very similar to horses as they get older. You gotta supplement them. So we try to give Mari more food than Viga. Viga is a little bit, and it has always been, chubby. So you can, because a lot of people used to say, how can you tell the difference between Viga and Mari?
Right.
You know, you can kind of see Viga's stomach kind of
Chunkster.
sticking out the side there. Viga, why are you doing that? But and I guess some people, well, most people can't tell the difference. But once you work with them, it's pretty easy. But some of the things I tell people when they first meet them and they want to know the difference, the easiest way really now to tell is Viga has a lot of hair on her tail, but you got to look at her tail.
Gotcha.
Mari doesn't have that much tail. As she's gotten older, her tail hair has just never grown back. But Mari is actually the taller elephant. She has a bigger head. She's more proportioned. Her ears and her head is proportioned to her body. Viga is more the typical what Asians would look like, where they have the smaller head and the bigger body. And I feel like Viga's body kind of looks like what I tell people, a boiled egg. She has kind of an egg-shaped body.
Wow. Now, is the zoo also a research facility? Like, are you folks submitting the data that you collect on
We
these
have
animals?
done different projects. Like we did, it's been a while, but we did, I think, 2 research projects, 3 actually, on the elephants that I could think of. One was they wore a tachometer on their feet. So we had to teach the elephants to wear like a leather strap around the foot with a tachometer on it. And unfortunately, somehow Mari got hers off, so we couldn't read Mari's, but we got Viga's, and we found that they walk 6.5 miles a day.
Wow.
Just in the 2 sides of the exhibit. So that's quite a bit of walking. And they, like I said earlier, they're pretty busy girls. The other study, we were working on kind of a hormonal study, and that was a lifetime study, but now that they're way up there in age and past breeding age, we kind of discontinued that.
Gotcha.
So that was through blood collection. So that was that study, and we also did a study on, and I didn't see the results of that one other than they told me that your elephants are happy. So they did one on
great.
happy elephants. So I think they had people that would come and observe the elephants for certain times of the day and see what they were up to, and and then they put it on a scale, like how often are they doing this, or, you know. So
what are some of their favorite treats?
Sugarcane is one of their favorites. Elephant grass, banana trees, pretty much greens and stuff, but that is their absolute favorite, like the elephant grass. The guinea grass, this grass has a lot of pokey stuff, but we have different types of that grass. They like coconut leaves, you know, things like that is their favorite.
What's something that you wish people knew about elephants?
Oh no, there's some. Well, I think everybody knows that they're sentient beings. This is kind of off the wall, but I feel like we are all connected, and this is beyond elephants. We're all connected to all animals, and I'm very into animal communication and reading animals, and a lot of times you just need to be quiet and listen, and you can learn so much from any animal that you're around and you're with. Elephants, there's not very many elephants left. I would say to try to join as many conservation groups that you can and learn all you can so you can help keep the elephants, possibly find land where you keep the elephants in, things like that.
What can we do as community members to kind of help with like the habitats being destroyed and like conservation when it comes to elephants?
Well, definitely the palm oil thing. You know, really read your labels about palm oil, because it is one of the leading causes of loss of habitat or animals encroaching into human areas. So the palm oil thing is a big deal, and so definitely look at your labels and try to find things without palm oil, which is very difficult to do. Or maybe don't eat so many Oreos. That is one of them, because there's a lot of palm oil in Oreos, and I have to say Oreos are one of my favorites, but I try not to eat them all the time. Definitely that. And you know, elephants are the keepers of the forest as well. You know, what goes in comes out very quickly, 24 to 48 hours, and whatever poop they make is wonderful compost, and we have had a lot of people come and request compost from us.
Oh, wow.
And they grow beautiful papaya and banana trees from it, and you know, they plant all the forests wherever they go.
Oh,
Mari says yes, that is true.
thank you so much for honestly just taking time and sharing about what you know with elephants, and thank you for loving them so well so that we as citizens and people in Hawaii get to enjoy and learn about them.
Yes, that's the best thing. I mean, all we can do is educate, really.
Yeah.
That's what they're here for.
Wow.
To let everybody know that they're awesome.
Yeah. Well, Mari, bye guy. Thank you for letting me share space with you guys and learn about you and letting me get so close.
She's like, you're welcome. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Star Dahl-Thurston with Cart Convos. This has been our elephant edition, and I just want to give a big shout out to Honolulu Zoo for allowing us to come and learn, and a specific mahalo to Malia and Sebastian and Linda for teaching us so much about this amazing place. If you want to come visit and learn a little bit more, you can go on to honoluluzoo.org. They're open from 10 to 3 p.m. Or even better, they have an app. You can download that. It'll give you a personalized walkthrough of the zoo, and you can tell when they're doing their live chats and getting a little bit more information about the amazing animals we have here in Honolulu. I'm Star. This is Cart Convos. See you next time.